Greenwich Park now in London, and this was my playground when I was young. I was born in 1938, and a few years after that the Germans started coming over to bomb what used to be docklands across there, across the river. All you could see was ships' funnels and hundreds of cranes, or derricks as they were called. Now you see a new city. But when I was a young boy, I would play here with my friends, and I was born in a hospital not far from here. But down here on these slopes, we would play in the winter. We would have little sledges and we would slide down here. One morning in 1944, I was having breakfast round in Ormiston Road, and there was a terrible explosion. And I immediately ran out the house with my mum screaming behind me, "Don't go." And we was watching everything going on, and somebody said, "Here, look at that." And we looked around, and up on that roof over there, above that shop on the corner of Humber Road, there was a naked body, spread eagled on the roof, dead. And a fireman was in the process of putting a ladder up to go up and bring the person down. And once again the policeman came over and they made us all move away, which was very good for them, but we was all rather naughty boys and we wanted to stay and watch it. But no, it's another thing that stood out in my mind from all those years ago. 1944, and the Germans, Adolf Hitler, was sending over these evil rockets. First of all we had the Doodlebug, or the V1, which made a horrible noise engine wise, but once the fuel cut out it would drop from the sky, and seconds later there would be a terrible explosion, destroying property, killing people. You knew of that one. But the V2 was absolutely evil, because you never heard that one coming until the explosion occurred. You can see by here, this gap and these new buildings, that us boys were brought to the attention of a recent rocket fall. And we came here up Beaconsfield Road, and before the police and the fire brigade could stop us, we'd gone across the road to watch them trying to get people out of the rubble and the dust. And there was a huge tree there with a big thick trunk, and at the base of the tree there was a foot shattered above the ankle, just standing there. And we was all looking at it when a policeman come along and he shooed us away, made us cross over back to him, and he covered it up with something. But that was horrible. We did see a few things, but that was horrible seeing that, and I think it played on my mind for a long time. And then, as the war finished, we had groups of Germans, prisoners of war, who'd been stationed on the heath in huts. And before they were repatriated, they were helping to rebuild the housing in this area that had been damaged and bombed by their aircraft. And they were let loose at times, and they would congregate down here on these slopes. And as boys, we were quite intrigued by these young men, although they looked older to us, still wearing their uniforms, and, as I say, sitting in groups, and they were quite friendly. And as we were walking around, they would call us over, and one young man, he gave me some chocolate. And it was chocolate I haven't had for years. In fact, I can't remember if I'd had them in the early days of the war, because sweets were rationed. But that was quite an experience, and looking back I can remember those days quite clearly.